It's probably pointless to preach about Blender to you, students of CG. Needless to say, it is not only a tool of choice for our whole company, but for me personally, it is the software where I put together everything, from my commercial work to the short film Heroes of Bronze. I simply love how it's grown over time, especially thanks to its enthusiastic developers and the amazing community. And so, a few introductory lessons are in order, so that you know your way around the software. And then I'll talk about some topics specifically tied to what we are discovering. If you already feel comfortable working in Blender, feel free to skip this chapter entirely, or return to it only when you hit upon a topic you are not too sure about. You will be greeted with this splash screen. You're free to proceed and select your first object with left mouse button, or just happily rotate around with the middle mouse button. Just hold down Shift and middle mouse drag. Finally, using your mouse wheel zooms in and out. The little comma button on your numpad zooms on the currently selected object, and home button frames all the object in your scene. This gives us an excellent opportunity to delete the default cube. No, not yet. If you instead move the object and hit escape, it will cancel everything and jump back to its original position. A very useful option is to lock the movement in only one axis. These X, Y, and Z directions indicated here. And you can see a dot will snap to moving only along this red X direction. Definitely get a feel for that. We can also scale our objects with S, and the axis lock works here as well. And to deselect any one of them, hold Ctrl and drag again. I also love this option to paint select objects, and you can see this select circle appear. You can draw across any of the objects you want to select. Most of these options you can also access in this toolbar here, activated with T. You can also activate the transform gizmos, which will visualize all of the things that we single quotes redoing with the keyboard shortcut. We have a second one, which we can move on a different spot. An awesome tip I always like to mention, if for example I move two objects over each other, and I want to have the option to choose which one I want to select. One important thing that you should know as well, is the manipulation with windows. Either you can use some various layouts up here. You can easily edit them by just dragging on these dividing corner lines of the various menus. So let's say I want to make the properties window and outliner wider. No problem, just hover over here, until this icon appears, and drag the line to the side, like this, which is at the top left corner of each window. Finally, you can get rid of windows, by dragging the corners over each other, like this, until this crosshair appears, and then drag it over the neighboring window. That allows you to get rid of it, Similarly, you can drag out a new window out of the corner and make it anything you want in this pop-out menu. Let's make it the timeline. And we will start with the viewport overlays. Deactivate the floor grid, and also the various axes. There's also this extras option here, which disables these sorts of representation of cameras and lights. But none of these are essential at this point. And here you can control everything connected to the Gizmos UI. Which are these manipulators showing up in the viewport, allowing you to manipulate with your objects. Even more important is this selectability and visibility menu. Here you can find all the types of objects and geometry that are available on Blender. Now only the mesh objects disappeared, or you can disable selectability for these. Finally, we have this viewport shading menu over here, where you can choose how you display your objects. You can switch to these matte caps that you may know from brush, for example. There are several options for the default shading, but I usually stick to this default studio view. You can control all sorts of default display, of the shaded view here, including background. More on that in later lessons. The X-ray is quite important. And now all of the objects become see-through. And next up, we'll have a look at modes, which is another important concept that you have to get used to in Blender.